बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधा माधव। जय राधा माधव। प्रभुपाद Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Sri Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the third canto, chapter 10. The chapter is entitled Division of the Creation. And we're reading text 16 and 17. Text 16 doesn't have a purport, so we'll recite together 17. Myself, I'll just do 16. So text 16. Bhuta sargas tritiyastu tanmatro dravya shaktiman chaturtha indriya sargo yastu gnana kriyatmaka. Translation. The sense perceptions are created in the third creation, and from these the elements are generated. The fourth creation is the creation of knowledge and of working capacity. Text 17. Vaikariko deva sarga, Vaikariko deva sarga, Panchamo yanmayam manaha, Shashtastu tamasa sargo, Yastva buddhi krita prabho, Yastva buddhi krita prabho, Vaikariko deva sarga, Panchamo yanmayam manaha, Shashtastu tamasa sargo, Yastva buddhi krita prabho, Vaikarika deva sarga, Vaikariko deva sarga, Panchamo yanmayam manaha, Shashtastu tamasa sargo, Yastva buddhi krita prabho. This. Word for word. Vaikārikaha, interaction of the mode of goodness. Deva, the demigods or controlling deities. Sargaha, creation. Panchamaha, fifth. Yat, that which. Mayam, sum total. Manaha, mind. Shashtaha, sixth. Tu, but. Tamasaha, of darkness. Sargaha, creation. Ya, that which. Tu, expletive. Abuddhi kritaha, made foolish. Prabho, of the Master. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation first. The fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity, by which the Master acts as a fool. Purport. The demigods in the higher planets are called Devas because they are all devotees of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Deva Asuras Tad Viparyaya. All the devotees of Lord Vishnu are Devas or demigods, whereas all others are Asuras. Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda ki Jai. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai. Gonitai ki Jai. That is the division of the Devas and the Asuras. Devas are situated in the mode of goodness of material nature, whereas the Asuras are situated in the mode of passion or ignorance. The demigods or controlling deities are entrusted with departmental management of all different functions of the material world. For example, one of our sense organs, the eye, is controlled by light. Light is distributed by the sun rays, and the controlling deity is the sun. Similarly, mind is controlled by the moon. All other senses, both working and for acquiring knowledge, are controlled by different demigods. The demigods are assistants of the Lord in the management of material affairs. After the creation of the demigods, all entities are covered by darkness of ignorance. Each and every living being in the material world is conditioned by his mentality of lording it over the resources of material nature. Although a living entity is the master of material world, he is conditioned by ignorance, by false impression of being the proprietor of material things. The energy of the Lord is called avidya, is the bewildering factor of the conditioned souls. The material nature is called avidya or ignorance, but to the devotees of the Lord engaged in pure devotional service, this energy becomes vidya or pure knowledge. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The energy of the Lord transforms from Mahamaya to Yogamaya and appears to pure devotee in her real feature. The material nature therefore appears to function in the three phases: as the creative principles of the material world, as ignorance, and as knowledge, as disclosed in the previous verse. In the fourth creation, the power of knowledge is also created. The conditioned souls are not originally fools, but by the influence of Vidya function of material nature, they are made fools, and thus they are unable to utilize knowledge in the proper channel. By the influence of darkness, the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord and is overwhelmed by attachment, hatred, pride, ignorance, and the false identification, the 5 kinds of illusion that cause material bondage. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So at the end of the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, after Krishna has described 82 opulences of the Lord, then Krishna says, I've just described to you a spark of my splendor. Just a spark of my splendor. I have unlimited opulences. And in speaking on this verse, Prabhupada says that sunlight is very beautiful. Sunshine is very beautiful. Therefore, we can just imagine how beautiful must Krishna be, how great must Krishna be, how powerful he must be. As we're kind of going into the summer, it's interesting, we kind of dress a little bit scantily, thinking that we're going to catch the sunshine. But sometimes the weather is a bit up and down, isn't it? And what happens is sometimes we get as the weather is up and down, sometimes, the sun is not seen, is covered by the cloud. There's not sunlight, there's no sunshine, like that, or much of it. So therefore we start to feel somewhat cold maybe, or at least temporarily, as the sun gets covered by the clouds, right? So in that situation we feel we're very much in want of the sunshine, especially because we don't have enough clothing on, like that. Just the other day I was out chanting, right, not wearing much, and thinking, yes, I'm going to be okay, like that. And the sun was covered, right? And I was immediately, as the sun was covered, I was feeling quite cold, like that. And then very shortly afterwards, the sun came out again, and it was such a, like, my God, amazing, Now that there is the sun, I couldn't feel the cold wind. Immediately start to feel quite warm. So similarly, this creation of the Lord, right, is very beautiful, very amazing, and we can therefore, in hearing about the creation, these verses and these chapters, that we're going through is all about the creation. Therefore, then we can just understand. We get somewhat of an idea. We get somewhat of a, just a glimpse of how beautiful Krishna must be, how great Krishna must be, the depth that must be there in Krishna. So at the beginning of this chapter, chapter 10, Vidura asks questions. Specifically, he asks questions of Lord Brahma's creation. How does Lord Brahma create with his body and his mind? How does he do that? And therefore, then Maitreya Muni immediately responds, and he says that Lord Brahma meditated on the Supreme Lord for 100 celestial years. And as a result of that, then he received transcendental knowledge from the Lord. And in receiving transcendental knowledge from the Lord, he acquired knowledge, practical knowledge in terms of how to go about the creation. And therefore then Lord Brahma went into the whorl of the lotus, into the stem of the lotus, and divided it into 3 parts. And then further divided it into 14 parts. And therefore we have the 14 worlds, or the 14 planetary systems. And then Vidura asks about time, because time is also a manifestation of the Supreme Lord. So then Maitreya Muni goes on to describe time, how time is limitless, how time is unmanifested form of the Supreme Lord, and how the interaction of the modes and really the catalyst for creation is the time. So in the first 10 verses of this chapter, we hear of Maitreya describing how Lord Brahma goes into meditation and so on and so forth. And then in the text 10, round about there, Vidura asks his question on time. And then a couple of verses, Maitreya Muni gives a description of time. And then Maitreya Muni goes on to summarize the creation. He's already given some description on creation previously, but then he goes on to summarize creation before he goes on to speak about Lord Brahma's creation. So therefore then we hear about how destruction was created first. So there are the 3 types of destructions. So this is described in text 14. And then in text 15 to 17, we hear of specifically the Supreme Lord's creation. So this is referred to as Prakrita creation, or primary creation. So this is described in verses 15 to 17. So there are 6 types of primary creation. And then we get to hear, as we approach the end of the chapter, the remaining verses are on Visarga, the secondary creation. So there are 4 types of secondary creation, and these creation is specifically by Lord Brahma. So these verses, today's verses 16 and 17, we hear of the Lord's creation, and specifically from the 3rd to the 6th of Lord creation, the types of creation. Sometimes these types of creation are also referred to as the stages of creation. So in text 16, we're hearing of the 3rd and the 4th types of, or stages of Lord's creation. So text 16, the 3rd creation is described as like this. The sense perception are created in the 3rd creation, and from these the elements are generated. So here the sense perceptions can be referred to as also the tanmatras, or the sense objects. Yeah, the sense objects are created in the 3rd creation, and from these the elements are generated. So these are the 5 material elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And then Maitreya Muni goes on to describe the 4th creation, and he says the 4th creation is the creation of knowledge and of working capacity. So here, what is being referred to is the 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Yeah. And then text 16 describes the 5th creation, the 5th stage of creation, of the 5th type of creation. So Maitreya Muni says the 5th creation is that of the controlling deities, by which the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. So we hear of the creation of the demigods and also of the mind. Yeah. And this is said to be with the interaction of the mode of goodness. So what does the mode of goodness interact with? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that ahankar. So by the combination, by the interaction of ahankar and the mode of goodness, we have the demigods, and then we have also the mind as well. And therefore in the purport, Prabhupada says, the devas are situated in the mode of goodness of material nature, whereas the asuras are situated in the mode of passion or ignorance. So it's interesting. Mind is said to be in the mode of goodness. And we also hear that intelligence is said to be in the mode of passion, or is due to the mode of passion. Yeah. And we also hear in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that intelligence is said to be superior than the mind. Right? So we have the working senses, then we have the mind, then we have the intelligence, right? Then we have the false ego, right? And the self, the spirit soul. So first of all, how is it that intelligence is superior than the mind, even though the intelligence is due to the mode of passion, combining with ahankar? Yeah. So one way to understand is that the mind that we're familiar with, right, is the material mind. The mind that we understand is the material mind. Yeah. So when Krishna says that the intelligence is superior than the mind, Krishna is speaking about the spiritual intelligence that is superior than the mind. And then what about mind due to the combination of mode of goodness and ahankar, as opposed to intelligence combination of mode of passion and ahankar, right? What is the quality of mode of goodness? The quality of mode of goodness is maintenance. Yeah, is maintenance. Yeah. So therefore, the duty of the mind is to maintain us in the material world. The purpose of the mind is to maintain us in the material world. So mind has to be due to the mode of goodness to keep us in the material world. Yeah. Whereas intelligence is said to be in the mode of passion, or is due to the mode of passion. Yeah, in passion we create, we bring about things. Right? Brahma is said to be the deity of passion, and therefore Brahma's duty is to bring about the creation. Yeah. So in this way, passion is associated, or creation comes about due to passion. So therefore, the intelligence, the material intelligence, right? The idea is to bring about various ways and means, to create various means and ways to keep us in the material world. So that's what the intelligence does. To come up with various ways and means to keep us in the material world. Like that. So in this way, intelligence, right, is due to the mode of passion, and mind is due to the mode of goodness. Maitri Muni then in text 17 speaks about the sixth creation. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity by which the master acts as a fool. Okay? So here the master is referring to the living entity Jiva, specifically in the material world. Of course, one understanding of this is that the living entity thinks that he or she is the master, right? This feels false conception of being the master. So therefore, master is referred to as here, master or Prabhu. Yeah. Also, the living entity is said to be the master in a sense that it is superior to the material nature. Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. So after, in the 7th chapter, Krishna describing Bhumo, Api Nalo Vayu, the 5 elements, he says that there is another superior nature, right? Almighty Amda Arjuna. And what is that superior nature? That is the living entities, right? So master, in a sense that the living entity is superior, right, to material nature. Yeah. So in that way also master. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is referring to living entity, Jiva, master. Prabhupada writes in the purport, why is master, how does he come under ignorance, right? And how does he become foolish? So Prabhupada explained, the energy of the Lord is called avidya, is the bewildering factor of the conditioned soul. The material nature is called avidya, right? And then later on Prabhupada explains that this avidya Shakti is due to material nature. Yeah. So material nature has 2 aspects: covering potency, covers us, covers our original nature, our relationship with Krishna, our original identity, and also keeps us in the material world, pulls us further in the material world, keeps us down in the material world. Right? So Prabhupada is explaining that there is the creation of ignorant darkness, and then the living entity becomes ignorant due to the ignorant energy, or avidya shakti. Yeah. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain that if one engages in pure devotional service, then one comes to pure knowledge. One becomes free from avidya, the ignorant shakti. Yeah, avidya shakti. And Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying that the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord and is overwhelmed by attachment, hatred, pride, ignorance, and false identification, and the 5 kinds of illusion that cause material bondage. Okay. So these things cause us material bondage. Right. And these referred to as the 5 kinds of illusion. So how do we solve this problem? How do we get out? How do we become free from avidya shakti? Here Prabhupada is saying if one engages in pure devotional service, we can become free from avidya shakti. We can become free from these 5 kinds of illusion, right? We can become free from our foolishness. We can become free from material bondage, yeah, by engaging in pure devotional service, yeah. So easy as that, right? Engaging in pure devotional service. So what chance do we have? Where do we begin? How do we begin? Yeah, humility, all of these qualities are there. Yeah. Knowledge, right? Knowledge. We begin with knowledge. Yeah. Because for us to engage directly in pure devotional service, it's not possible. It's not possible. Yeah. Yeah. Spiritual master is there as well. Knowledge. Okay. What does Krishna describe as knowledge in the 9th chapter, the 7th chapter, text 2? What does he say is his knowledge? This knowledge of the phenomenal world, right, and the material world. Phenomenal and numinous, material and the spiritual world. I declare this to be knowledge, and everything else as not knowledge, as ignorance, like that. Yeah? And Prabhupada writes in the purport, knowledge of the phenomenal world and the material world, and the source of both is a real knowledge. And then in the 13th chapter, beginning of the 13th chapter, Arjuna asks questions. Ask really questions on 6 things. For example, what is knowledge? What is the field of activity? Who is the knower of the field? What is the purpose of knowledge? Kshetra, Kshetragya, so on and so forth. Yeah? What is knowledge? So immediately in the 13th chapter, after Arjuna asking these questions, Krishna responds. And he says, knowledge is, what is knowledge? Knowing the field of activities and the knower of the field. This is knowledge. Yeah. So he says this is knowledge, knowing the knower of field of activities and knowing the knower of the field of activities. Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Jai Shri Sitaram Krishna Hanuman ki, Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jai. So there are two knower of the field of activities, or Kshetragyas, that's the living entity, and the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So then Prabhupada also explains in the purport, when one knows material nature, when one knows nature, material energy of the Lord, when one knows the spiritual nature, the living entities, and one also understands the Supreme Lord, right? And this is knowledge. This is complete knowledge. And then it's interesting, Krishna goes on to explain further knowledge. Yeah? And then he describes the items of knowledge, right? The 20 items of knowledge, or the processes of knowledge, 20 processes of knowledge, right? Amanitvam, adambitvam, like that. Shanti marjavam, evacha, like that. So it's interesting. This is knowledge. We are also aware of this knowledge. We're not this body, we're the spirit, soul. Yeah. However, are we acting according to that knowledge? Then immediately knowing this, do we engage in pure devotional service? Yeah. So therefore, knowledge in itself is not enough. Hearing this is not enough. Yeah. Like for example, those who are smokers, they know smoking is bad for them. They're told smoking is not good for them, right? On the packet, what does it say? Smoking kills. There are also interesting images as well, right? If you continue smoking, what's going to happen? You're going to end up having, lungs like what you see here, yeah, completely burnt out, right? Degenerated, so on and so forth, yeah. Maybe some of them can even give a class on how smoking is not good for you. Yeah, some of them are even teachers and professors, and maybe even medical practitioners, and so on and so forth. And after giving their seminar in their class on how smoking destroys lungs and so on and so forth, right? And one can get various cancers, throat cancers, lung cancers. Then they may go out during the break time and smoke, right? Yeah. So knowledge is one thing, and realization and application of that knowledge is something else. So it's interesting. Krishna says this is knowledge, and then he lists the items of knowledge, or processes of acquiring knowledge. And what are these processes and the items of knowledge? Is just qualities, right? Krishna is just listing qualities: humility, pridelessness, tolerance, right? Simplicity, so on and so forth. So Krishna is indicating here that without these qualities, one cannot acquire knowledge, one cannot realize knowledge, one cannot apply that knowledge. So we got to have these qualities. We got to work on these qualities. Then we are able to apply this knowledge. Yeah. So then, if we turn to the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and look at these verses 8 to 12. So of these 16, the first 16 are said to be qualities of a pure devotee. Yeah. 17 and 18 are good for devotees and jnanis, and 19 and 20 are specially meant for the jnanis. So therefore also in the Ishopanishad, when Prabhupada is speaking about these qualities, he really speaks about the first 18. Yeah. Of the 20 qualities, the first two are amanitvam, adambhitvam, humility and pridelessness. And Srila Prabhupada says in one place that this is a measure of one's progress. Yeah, amanitvam, adambhitvam. And Prabhupada says this is humility and pridelessness is required to acquire any knowledge. Yeah. And then Acharya Upashanam, taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, is described as an essential quality. And then later on, Mai Chananya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabhicharini. Yeah. So this is unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord, right? Is listed there, and is described as the most important quality and is the goal of all other qualities. So the purpose of all other qualities is to ultimately come to pure, unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. So then sometimes it is said by engaging in pure devotional service we acquire these qualities, right? And here we're kind of more or less, because the way Krishna is describing is that, okay, you develop these qualities and then you come to realize this knowledge, right? You come to pure devotional service, like that. So how do we go about doing this? So it seems like it's a closed loop, yeah? Seems like it's a closed loop. Pure devotional service, to get pure devotional service we have to engage in these qualities, then one comes to pure devotional service, but these qualities are due to engaging in pure devotional service. So how do we crack this? How do we come to this point? So that's interesting. So Prabhupada in the purport explains and he says, Mai Chananya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabhicharini. The process of knowledge terminates in undevotional service, in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So if one does not approach or is not able to approach transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are no particular value. So that's the purpose of the 19 items. Okay? But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within him. Yeah? So Prabhupada is making the same point. Yeah? That the point is to engage in pure devotional service, otherwise these items are useless, right? So then he goes on to explain how one can come to pure devotional service. He says, all the good qualities of knowledge develop in one who has attained the stage of devotional service. The principle of accepting a spiritual master is mentioned as in the eighth verse is essential. So Acharya Upashanam is essential. So really Prabhupada, this is what he's saying. The clue is taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, right? And therefore, in 12th chapter, ninth text, Krishna says, if one can't fix one's mind and intelligence in Krishna, right, one should engage in abhyas. Right, one should practice to come to the point of engaging one's mind and senses in service of Krishna. And one should develop a desire to attain Krishna. One should develop a desire to be absorbed, to fix one's mind and intelligence in Krishna. So that comes from hearing and association, to develop that strong desire to come to this point, being absorbed, fixing our mind and intelligence in Krishna. Yeah. So how does one come to practice? Prabhupada is saying here is one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So he practices devotional service under the guidance of a spiritual master, specifically Shravanam, Kirtanam, so on and so forth. And then also, whilst engaging in service according to the direction of the spiritual master, in this way, then one also works on these qualities, knowing that one is by one's own endeavor is not going to acquire these qualities fully, but engaging in these qualities whilst under the direction of the spiritual master, engaging in Shravanam, Kirtanam and so on, seeking the mercy of the Lord, right? Engaging in these qualities in such a way to attract the attention of the Lord, then by the mercy of the Lord, one comes to pure devotional service, and then one fully acquires these qualities, and therefore then one comes to fully realize knowledge, is able to apply oneself in knowledge that we're not this material body, we're spirit souls, and therefore then one becomes free from the 6 types of illusion, right? And therefore then one no longer remains foolish, right? One becomes established in knowledge. So hope that helps. And if there's any questions.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Ananta Chita Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Here it's mentioned that our sense organs have controlling deity, presiding deity. So just wanted to check, do the demigods also get reaction for the karma which we perform by our senses? Will sun god also suffer if I am watching Netflix? If I am moody on a particular day, I don't chant my 16 rounds. Will moon god also suffer?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, as we engage in different of our different senses, and the senses have controlling deities. Does that mean if we're misusing our senses, we're misengaging our senses ourselves in not so Krishna conscious way? Do the demigods get any reaction? The demigods are acting according to the direction of the Supreme Lord. They're empowered by the Supreme Lord. They're doing their duty. They're taking to their responsibilities. But we get the reaction for misusing our senses, right? Not engaging in Krishna service, right? As long as we engage in our duties, our ultimate duty, right? We serve Krishna also, then there's no reaction for us like that. So why would the demigods have any reactions? They're just doing their duties. Yeah. Fulfilling the desire of the Lord. Yeah. So no reaction for the demigods. Yeah. Yes, Cyrus Prabhu.
So Prabhupada says that the living entity is the master of material creation, and I was thinking in terms of, before I heard that, I was thinking that the living entity is the master of his own destiny. So we can decide what we want to do with life. But I always see us as, in the world, they know they're the masters. That's why they exploit nature and they do all sort of things with it, and they seem to get away with it, but they don't know they don't get away with it. So rather than seeing us as masters of material creation or material energy, maybe co-worker. I was thinking in terms of stewards. It's in the Bible as well that man should have dominion over the world, of the earth. Mm-hmm. I didn't like that context. I didn't like that at all, because I think it's taken way out of hand. Because people read it and they think, okay, I can dominate. The strongest will survive and all that sort of thing, and madness, and ruin the whole creation, poison the sea, polluting the air, the food's messed up. It's crazy, man. So they do understand this mastery over material energy, but they just do it in the wrong way. But I like the word steward. We're working with her, not type of thing. So it's not even a question; it's more like a reflection.
Yes. So yes, it's not that the living entities are master of the material nature. The master is the Supreme Lord. However, the Supreme Lord has various energies. Material nature is regarded as inferior energy, being separated from the Lord, right? The living entities are described as his Tatashta Shakti, right? So they can be situated in material nature, or they can be situated in the Lord's internal nature. Yeah. So in that way, the living entities are described as of superior nature than the material nature. Yeah, superior material energy. So not that the living entities are masters of material nature. Master is only the Supreme Lord, right, of material nature. So we're just another of his energies, but we're of superior nature.
But the trees are also superior nature because it's a soul there.
Yes,
a soul
yes.
is there. So when we talk about material nature, what are we talking about? The plants, or it's a substance or something? What is it? Because it's not just human beings, because they are living entities all over the place.
Material energy, the various bodies, the elements, right? So that's the material nature. Yeah. Okay. And then, so you have the tree, the bark, the leaves, and so on and so forth. But then there is the spirit soul within that tree. So that is of a superior nature. Like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Clarifying that, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki. Oh, sorry, there's a question here. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned that these qualities are described in the Ishopanishad. So I wanted to ask why Srila Prabhupada chose the Ishopanishad among all the other Upanishads to be studied in the course of Bhakti Shastri?
Ishopanishad, right, is Upanishad of the Supreme Controller, Isha, right? Also, the syllabus for the Bhakti Shastri actually comes from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The original idea was conceived by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, like this. And Ishopanishad is also said to be the bridge between, the Vedas and also, the Gnana aspect of the Vedas and also the Bhakti aspect of the Vedas, like that. So therefore, Ishopanishad is like a book of the Bhakti Shastri, and Ishopanishad is kind of, we we distribute on the streets, we study, so on and so forth. Yeah, and he's also got that kind of mystical, magical kind of aspects about it as well. Like that. We may also have that tendency of like, the Lord, out there and something great and so on and so forth. So from there to bring us to bhakti, that's the idea of Shisha Upanishad. Okay. Hare Krishna. Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Can I ask you? This is like the addition to Bhakti Shastri, because then I will forget. Now you were mentioning the 12th chapter where Krishna is explaining about the different processes of engagement, and then after that he's saying those are dear to me and he lists the qualities by which one is dear to him, and one of them, as we read, is that by who nobody is put into difficulties, and also that.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
So I'm